Howdy, Ags. From the tailgate, home of Aggie football. See money in the house, in the
Yeah,
hizzy. Today's sponsor is Matthews Electric, full service electrical contractor in the Brazos Valley. No job too big, no job too small. Call Blaine at 979-220-6403. Light up your home, light
light
up
up
your
your
life.
life. There you go.
I wanted to thank Blaine for the ball cap game I've got on today. A little Franklin Franklin football headgear here. Thank you for that, Blaine. Folks, don't forget to email us at agstailgate@gmail.com. Get on the YouTube, subscribe, give us some commentary. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us get in here on your thoughts on the 2025 football season, what to expect this off season, what you're looking for in the off season, and things moving forward. So uh, get us some information there. Today's rundown, we're gonna cover the Miami game, and then we're gonna do a little look ahead into this roster and see what's going on. But we're gonna start with some news and notes. Before that, I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, Corey. Merry Christmas to your family and kids and the wife. Uh, and Happy New Year, brother.
Thank you, thank you.
All right, so some news and notes. Let's start off with some good news today. Corey, Aggie Volleyball absolutely dominates, wins a Natty. I mean, takes out Pitt in the semis in the Final Four in a sweep, takes out Kentucky in the finals in a sweep, beat number one Nebraska on their home court. Uh, just an impressive performance by a group of ladies at nine seniors, senior-led group. I mean, and just got better and better as the year went along, unlike the Aggie football team. Then and then gritty, super gritty, absolutely dominates at the end, man. Any thoughts on Aggie volleyball there, Corey?
Oh, very impressive. The NIL money worked out well for them. They a lot of NIL in that volleyball. Good, good.
Hey, that's a coach in his third year in the program that took that team and improved that team every year, man. Done a great job, phenomenal job for that program. Phenomenal, I think they've got a very bright future ahead of them as well. Um, it was a big deal, man. Everybody, no people that didn't, follow volleyball like a couple months ago, man, were texting and all this stuff about, hey, the lady volleyball team, yada yada yada, how awesome, yada. It picked up you know, the Aggie following for sure.
Oh yeah, I'm right there with them. I wasn't following them until they beat Nebraska, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I watched a lot of the last two games, as a matter of fact.
Really?
Yeah. I watched a lot of those last two matches. Um,
Nice.
really, really impressed with that group. Really impressed with that group. Really impressed with the fact that they just continue to get better throughout the season, and that's how, you know, as a former coach, that's exactly what you try to accomplish, right? Coaching is about continuous improvement, man. That's really what it's all about. So, congratulations to the Lady Ags, Natty. Keep it up. We're becoming a volleyball school. We're here to support you. Um, some
Volleyball
other
school.
moves, some other news here. Coaching moves. Offensively, Colin Klein, obviously, we already knew was on his way out. He's taking the tight ends coach with him. It's going to be his quarterback coach there at Kansas State. We know Wiggins was announced as the replacement, so he's going to be the new OC and play caller. Um, Defensively, a few moves have come up. Klein's also taking Peterson, the DB coach, former Aggie, by the way, with him to go be his defense coordinator over there.
That's
Uh,
odd.
Hemp Hill takes over that job as a defensive coordinator. He's a DB's guy, so he'll take over that DB position. They were looking at hiring the linebackers coach, who's the former defensive coordinator over at Arkansas. And then it looks like Elijah Robinson, Aggie favorite for a long time. That he's going to come back, who's replacing Sean Spencer, a former Aggie who was one of the D-line coaches last year, who apparently is going to go to Virginia Tech. He's got a relationship with James Franklin, has coached with that group before, and so he's going to go to Virginia Tech as a D-line coach. But Elijah Robinson coming back in to fill that hole. We'll see how that things continue to progress on that.
Hey, so what? Okay, I don't understand. You're a former coach.
Yeah.
What was like? Okay, the head coach makes the most money, then offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator. So does a tight ends coach make less than a quarterbacks coach? I guess I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I mean,
Is that a step
uh,
up? I don't know how that works in the whole
you know,
hierarchy.
I
Does
I
the O line
think
coach make
no, I think obviously both of those are very important, but for a guy that's probably trying to move into an offensive coordinator play calling role, it gives him the opportunity to sort of work with that quarterback group. He's already worked with tight ends, so now he's going to have a much better, broader sort of understanding of everything and going through that process. So I think it helps him for future jobs to get, a more well-rounded coaching sort of career, right?
right? Because I mean, when you go from tight ends, like, are you working like a game plan when you work with tight ends and a quarterback? Do you go through the offensive game, or are you actually just working on fundamentals? Are you doing both?
Yeah, I think generally the staff together, right, works on the game plan. So, you know, obviously the offensive coordinator is at the top of that conversation. Elko probably has an overall kind of idea of what's going on and makes some suggestions, but that game plan comes from that offensive coordinator. But it's created with the input of the tight end coach, the running backs coach, the offensive line coach. They definitely talk about, hey, these are things that we saw in film that we think we can exploit. These are issues that we might have, and I'm not sure that these are things that we can do from those position coaches that'll help then formulate the total game plan. But once then the game plan is there, you start practice with the idea of each group, is working on the specific fundamentals of what they're doing, right? And trying to get those pieces together. And as you go through the week of practice, you figure out, okay, out of this game plan, based off of what we've seen against the scout team, these are things that we didn't like and we didn't do very well. These are things that we did like, and we need to make sure that they're in the game plan at a high priority, right? And so that's kind of how it develops. And then ultimately, before you get to your kind of your final day of practice, you've also put together your script for the first, depending on how many you do, 10, 12 plays at the beginning of the game with some idea of what you want to do in the second half as well as that script is. And then those become a big time part of obviously what you're practicing the last couple of days to make sure that everybody's on the same page for those. So, it's a process. It's a process. It's very, I mean, you hear Elko talk about it all the time, as they were asking him questions about Colin Klein leaving and all this stuff. And it's like, it's always a group effort, right? But having said that, right, the guy at the head of the table has a big say on what ends up actually in that game plan, actually on that play card, and then what's actually being called on game day, right?
The reason I'm asking is like these coaches are leaving a tight ends coach going to be a quarterback coach. I mean, I didn't know if it was like a lateral move or if it's a step up or I don't know
Yeah, I
how that
mean,
works.
that's probably not a big step up, but it does, like I said, it gives him a little bit more well-rounded resume to be able to then take that next step where he wants to go, whereas as a play caller, right? He's going to want to be the play caller at some point.
So like in the Dan Campbell, he's calling the plays for Detroit now. Does he even have an offensive coordinator? Does he need one?
He probably still does in title, right? And that offensive coordinator then is also doing a lot of the legwork and preparing the practice plan and sort of coordinating with all the assistant coaches and things like that. But that's always the challenge as a head coach that's calling plays for a group is that you're taking away some attention from your duties as the overall general manager of that team, right? You know,
Right.
there's where you probably should be more evenly focused between the defensive and offensive meetings and then the special teams meetings. In our case, those need to be highly attended because our special teams suck. you know, if you run one side of this the offense or defense, then all of a sudden you're spending most of your time there. I mean, you remember watching Jimbo and the guy during practice, like literally never left the quarterback side, right?
Right.
That's not a
Yeah.
head coach. That's not a head coach. That's an offense coordinator. He's a quarterback's coach, period. He never left that area. And so, if you've got that situation, then that means that you're letting go of the defense to a certain extent, right? You're not really affecting that side of the ball. If Elko's spending all his time with the defense and not spending any time with the offense, then there's a problem with that, right? He should be involved because football should be complementary, right? One of the things that we weren't good at this year is complementary football because, you know, we tried to be a running football team with ground and pound kind of principles, but yet our defense was kind of a all or nothing defense, right? That kind of pairs better with an explosive offense that's going to be fast tempo, go 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 go, right? Those things pair together a little bit better, but that's not how we work, right? Our offense is more methodical. Definitely try to get the run game going, which is good. But to me, if your defense is all or nothing, then you're probably better off the other way where you're forcing other teams to play more aggressive offensively, and now you can use that crazy Elko scheme to try to get them out of position, right?
Man, do you know there's some college football games playing right now?
I did know there's some bowl games playing.
Yeah, Louisville and Toledo. Louisville's up 7-0. I had no idea.
There you go. There you go.
Huh.
Um, So the coaching moves are there. Those are going to, we'll find out here in the next couple of weeks exactly where everything's going to end up. But it looks like Elko kind of already had some guys identified that he was going to go with. Will Lee declared for the NFL draft. No surprise there. Technically, he's out of eligibility, but because he was a junior college guy at one point, he could have fought for another year if he really wanted to. But I think good decision for Will Lee to get out there, right? I mean, he's kind of got his draft stock probably where he's going to get it to, and go get it started at this point. He's I don't know, Corey, what do you think? Like a third or fourth round kind of draft pick for Willie?
Maybe a little later.
Yeah.
Thinking, fifth, sixth round. I mean, I think all the early round picks will be KC and the O line.
Yeah,
But
I do think Will leads. I don't know, man. I kind of think maybe third or fourth.
passes.
I think, once they start watching some of his film and his physicality, he's got the size. It also depends on his testing, right? If he comes out and runs like crap, then it'll be lower. Like you
Yeah.
said, sixth round or something. But if he runs well, it could go up and he might end up in a third round slot. I don't think he's a speedster of that nature, so he's probably like somewhere in the fourth or fifth.
He seems to lose concentration sometimes. I don't know. He got burnt a few times this year.
I think it's his aggressiveness, right? And I think that's what they kind of asked him to do is to be aggressive, to be physical at the line. And so his aggressiveness can get him into trouble at times for sure.
Gotcha.
Um, and then KC declared for the draft as well. That's a guy that we expect big things from. And, they're talking about him in the first, second round conversation. And honestly, I mean, the dude is an absolute football player, man. I love the guy. I think, another guy that, testing's is gonna have an effect on him, right? Because he's gonna get those measurables and this and that, but the speed, right? I mean, he's gonna have to run a pretty good time to get first round consideration, I think. I think he's gonna have to do a pretty good job in the 40 to do that.
Who do you
Not
compare him to in the NFL?
hmm. Yeah, kind of I don't know, man. I hadn't thought about it yet. You got somebody in mind?
Yeah, what's the guy's name that played for KC and then he went to Miami? He got hurt this year. Explosive, dynamic.
Yeah. Yeah,
The
Hill.
hell's his name? Huh?
Hill.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
he reminds me of the Hill. He's explosive. He's a smaller guy.
Maybe not
He's only
quite as fast as Hill though,
no,
right?
but he's quick. He's so quick in and out
Yeah.
of, and he gets the ball in his hands is electric. I mean, he's more. I mean, he's sturdy. You know what I'm saying? It's not like Rio. Rio seems to me he looks frail, but he's slithery. He gets out of stuff. But
Yeah,
KC's more,
Rio's to me is more almost like he reminds me a little bit of CeeDee Lamb, you know?
yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
He reminds me a little bit of CeeDee Lamb. I was thinking with KC, golly, what's that? I was just thinking of somebody and now I've lost it. Um, But yeah, I mean, because he's such a football player, right? The ball in his
Mhm.
hands, you can hand him the football, you can throw him it to him on screens, but he can get
Special
downfield
teams
and
and
he
stuff and
doesn't.
everything.
Oh yeah, the punt return game is huge, and he
Yeah.
could also look. He also made nice plays on the ball with the ball in the air, right? And
Hmm.
so it's not like he's not a guy.
Tyreek
How about
Hill. That's who I was saying.
Tyreek Hill?
Tyreek
And
Hill. Yeah.
how about a Zay Flowers type? But he's another guy that's super
Yeah.
fast, right?
Yeah.
Um, but
I mean,
yeah.
I'm just worried his height is going to hurt him a little bit. I mean, he's only
Mhm.
5'10", 5'11", but he's quick. His hands are, I'd say they're good. I don't know how big they are, but he had some drops this year.
Yeah, I mean, some of that is concentration stuff, but yeah, his measurables are going to be a big part of it, and then ultimately that 40 time I think is going to be big for him. So, but I still think just as based off his production, second round guy, I don't blame him for leaving. I think that
Mhm.
where he's at, this is about as good as his draft stock's going to get, right? I don't anticipate it's going to get any better if he comes back. So. Hey, love for the kid, man. He was an absolute warrior all year long for this football team coming in from NC State this year. Obviously, big time playmaker and one of the big reasons of the turnaround this year. So, yeah, big props, man, and I wish the guy good, excellent luck, right?
Absolutely.
The other one is sophomore linebacker Tristan Jernigan announced that he's getting into the transfer portal. A guy that, you know, depending on what happens, we're losing Scooby, but depending on what happens
York.
um, with York, may or may not have been in line for some playing time next year, but he still has Sanford. He still's got McHale, who as a freshman this year got a lot more playing time than he did out in front of him. So there's other guys that have been preferred over him. So no surprise there that guy's gonna hit the transfer portal and wish him luck again. Hope he finds a place that he can go produce. All right, Corey, let's get into this Miami game. Look, I mean, 10-3, man. 10-3. This game was
Was that the first quarter score?
scoreless. Scoreless at the half, right?
Yeah,
Scoreless. Zero
I know.
zero at halftime.
I know.
It was the most probably pathetic offensive performance, ugliest offensive game, special teams, field goal kicker gets one blocked at 22 yards. I mean, just the whole everything about it just horrible. The We're going to talk about the fake punt thing. It didn't end up costing us, but what a stupid decision, if you ask me. Just
I mean, your
stupid.
defense is playing great. Why do you do that?
Why do you do it? And it should have cost you a field goal. They ended up going down and missing a field goal at the end of the half.
Hmm.
So it should have cost you points. But I mean, let's start with this offense, man. 10-3 is the final score. Marcel throws a pick to end the game in the end zone, right? He had a couple of other miscues, another pick on a bad throw where he just missed a guy that was open. And he also had the fumble on the broken play, crap call by the coordinator, Colin Klein, but he ends up then having the fumble, instead of, making the play worse on which I think it was first down on that instance, maybe second down. He had the opportunity to just eat it and get another bite at it afterwards. But let's start with Marcel. A lot of people, man, all of a sudden, two bad games here to end the season, really, against Texas and here against Miami, two really good defenses. And all of a sudden, you're hearing, you know, folks turn on Marcel. Oh, he's not good enough to be the leader of this team. You need a better quarterback. Josh Pate, who's one of these, national podcast guy, the other guy. Hey, A&M's got a Marcel Reed problem. Look, let me be clear, Corey. You know this about me. I love Marcel Reed. I think he's a freaking phenomenal leader. The improvements that he showed from 24 season to this year were impressive to me, incredible. His leadership is through the roof. The guy's a super, super worker. I have faith that Marcel Reed is going to be just fine, especially if we can get somebody in there calling plays that's going to help him out a little bit more. Corey, your thoughts on Marcel?
I think Marcel's fine too. I mean, shit, we wouldn't have gained any yards in that first drive if he didn't hold the ball and run. I mean, he did hold the ball a little bit longer this game than what he had in most. Got sacked, I think, 6 or 7 times. It was something
Yeah,
we haven't
seven
seen.
sacks by Miami.
And and I think a lot of his progression is going to depend on this offensive line, what we're going to lose and what we have coming back, and that's scary. We have a lot of ifs and buts and what ifs.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit more here in a minute about kind of where the state of this roster is and going for next year. But to me, everybody looks at Marcel and they want to start pointing the fingers. And did he have 2 interceptions? Yes. Did he have the fumble? Yes. Did he throw a couple picks against Texas? Sure. All those things are true, right? But let me be clear about this. All those things aren't his fault completely, right? I mean, not entirely his fault, not only his fault. The 7 sacks, not only his fault, right? Play calling could have been a lot better. We talked about this, Corey, before, looking at this game. I said that this Miami defense, with that defensive front, with those linemen, when they get into the red zone, they like to play straight up forward. Four linemen come and stop the run, take care of the run, and they play zone behind it with 7 guys in coverage back there, and they're not going to give you holes. And you're going to have to use the running backs out of the backfield. You're going to have to use some misdirection and different things of that nature. Maybe the zone read with a tight end out into the flats off of that, with an option to maybe throw a little pop pass out there. Like you're going to have to do something out of the ordinary to get space in that zone, because they're going to drop all those guys back, right, into that area. And that's exactly what they did. Not only the last drive, but our previous drive into the red zone. And Colin Klein didn't do any of those things to try to help out. Some things that earlier in the year he did to get a little bit more creative with that play calling and the misdirection and different things that he was doing in the red zone. None of that came out in the last 2 games for the matter, and definitely not against Miami, in which I thought the film clearly showed that that's the way you had to go, is, use the running backs out of the backfield, use the tight ends and some different things, maybe coming underneath the formation type things, maybe even some screen game down there in the red zone because of what defense we're seeing. I don't know. That's my thoughts.
No, I hear you. I mean, I agree with you. We didn't get very creative at all. I mean, it just. But I also told you, I said I thought the thing that we could use the most was Marcel's feet, and he used them pretty well for a while. It looked
Yeah.
like it was being successful, and then he wants to hold the ball and try. I don't know. I don't know what he's looking at when he got sacked on some of those. I was just like, what's going on here?
Yeah,
What's he?
and he clearly didn't have a clear picture. He was holding the ball, offensive line got it. But then again, I want to go, and you know me, man. I'm a former coach. I'm hard on the coaching staff. I think that they have to do a better job of putting players in a position to be successful. You go look at one of those sacks where um, where you had, I mean, they got damn pressure damn near immediately. They were asking Theo to block one of those defensive ends, right? It's like that ain't ever gonna happen. That dude
Mm.
ain't ever gonna be able to take care of that. And then you wonder why he's, he sits in there and it gives up the immediate pressure. And then, we've got I think that was the intentional grounding call, right? And so that's not on Marcel. That's not even on Theo, to be honest with you. That's on the dumbass who decided to put Theo on a defensive end, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at. I don't know. I'm just looking at the stats of the game. I'm just frustrated with it still. Still frustrated. We outgained them. Turnovers.
Turnovers,
Story of the
man.
game. Story of the game.
Turnovers. There's no question the turnovers were a big part of it. But once again, yeah, I mean, the turnovers, right? That's the one thing Miami avoided. Miami avoided the turnovers. We couldn't. We lost 10-3. We were the better team, if you ask me. We had the yard advantage. We were able to move the ball better. All those things. Those turnovers killed you. Your special teams absolutely killed you, you know?
I
And
mean, I gotta say, I
ultimately,
was impressed with Miami's defense. Was impressive. They got some good players. I mean, God, that Bain kid is
oh, no question. Yeah, that defense, like you said, I mean, they showed out, man. They showed out. And and look, we'll talk about the matchups going forward, but I think that's a good game with them in Ohio State. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but so going back to this offense, man, I just think that everybody's sitting here and obviously off the bat just really down on Marcel, and I think that we need to remember the fact that he didn't get a ton of support from the running game. He was the running
right.
game, right?
Right.
Uh, he was the
Moss got
running
hurt.
game, and he didn't get a ton of support from his offensive line, who had some miscues. Um, and then he forced a couple of things and had some. But you talked about the running game with Marcel. Where was any? They didn't move him outside of the pocket any, right? Like no play action with him booting out, where he's got a run pass option on the go, right? No, no, nothing getting him out from outside the pocket where he was in direct, attack from that defensive line for Miami, man. And I thought that that was a mistake, especially in the short area, right? In the red zone. Where was that,
Good question. It's a great question. I don't know. Where's our explosive offense at that we had 3 quarters of the season?
One long ball, and it was a completed pass, by the way, to Mario Craver. 57. Where was the rest of the day?
That's
What
what they
what
talked about. You even talked about it before the game. That's one thing Miami was vulnerable at was a deep ball and one play.
Yeah, I thought that they didn't do a very good job of designing some things to be explosive. No trickery either, right? Like, hey, I understand you don't want the basis of your offense to be trick plays. Miami ran like four of them, by the way. They were trying everything they possibly could to get yards. They understood that they needed to create space and create, advantages. They didn't hold anything back in that sense, and it didn't
No,
work
they
for.
figured out all they had to do was run the ball. That's all they figured out. We just got
Well,
to
but
run the
they
ball.
tried. They tried the trick plays, right? They weren't successful with them, but they tried them. We didn't even try anything, right? We didn't try a single anything.
We did a fake punt.
Yeah, a fake punt from our punter to our safety on a long ball
Hey,
down the
he
sideline.
almost made that. He almost made an incredible catch on that.
Yeah, yeah. That was to me with barely any time on the clock, you put your defense in a horrible position. I thought it was a horrible call. I
Horrible.
understand you're trying to create momentum or whatever, man. That's not it. That's not the time. You're in a tight game. You have a chance to go into the half. The only thing you're going to do here is potentially give them a short field to go score some more points. Even if you get that first down, you still got to go drive it into the end zone because your field goal kicker can't make a kick. So, like, what are we doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uh, I thought, look, the other thing is, we sat in there offensively. Obviously, we're talking 7 sacks, a lot of those in the second half when we really started to abandon the running game quite a bit. But, they were able to kind of pin their ears back. We didn't see any screen game going. They had that one that they tried to get to Berkature. It looked like a bunch of monkeys trying to F a doorknob, in the famous words of uh the movie. I can't remember which movie it is, so forget about it.
Bunch of
Uh,
monkeys trying to fucking doorknob.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyway,
What
yeah,
what are
and then
you
like,
watching? What are you watching? Are you watching football? Are you watching monkeys fucking
but
doorknob?
that screen to Berkature looks absolutely horrible. It looks like they didn't even practice it. They got guys in the way of each other, and it was a mess, right? Like, where was the screen game to try to combat some of that pressure? Where did we like? How about a draw? How about a freaking draw? That was non-existent. They don't have that in the playbook for sure. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
understand. I don't understand why this coaching staff didn't do things to try to help the offensive line out, knowing that offensive line was struggling, by the way. Like, why weren't you calling things to help them out? Easy
Was that D line
solution.
that much better than our offensive line?
I think that D line is pretty darn elite. But the other thing about it is that I didn't really think our offensive line played its best game. You know,
I don't think our whole team played their best game. I think our defense played well.
played well, not great.
No, they played well.
Um, Look, the run game obviously didn't do nothing, but it was unimaginative, right? It was like where is some of the things that we saw earlier in the year, two back sets with cross motions and different things like that that you're no, man, it was the same, it was like just unimaginative running game, not giving yourself any advantages in that sense. I I'll tell you
I
this,
don't.
we're gonna talk about the Colin Klein thing. I think that guy did a horrible job the last 2 weeks of the season. And I can't imagine that it doesn't have something to do with him being in the process of finding a new job and obviously preparing for next year.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, you don't know. We're just guessing because we lost. But I mean, like, what happened to Amari Daniels? He didn't play for shit. I mean, I thought he had a good year last year. Now he didn't do jack all year. Even when Moss goes down. I mean, Owens. I was high on Owens for a while, but the guy just doesn't hit a hole. He bounces around too much. For a guy that's 215 pounds, he runs like he's a buck oh 05. I mean, it looks
Yeah.
like anything takes him down. And that freshman running back, was it Morrow? That
Yeah,
guy,
you didn't see Morrow at all on Saturday. You didn't see
like,
Daniels at all on Saturday. Those are two guys that I think are really good alternatives to Moss, and you don't
yeah,
get anything from those guys because you
they're
don't give
good
them an
between the
opportunity.
tackles. They can run between the tackles.
And then, you've got EJ Smith in there, and I love Emmett, whatever. Hey, guy, hey, stuck around. He came through the program and all this stuff. EJ Smith is not a great running back. I'm sorry. He's not as good as Daniels. He's not as good as Jamarian Morrow, right? That if
They don't.
you
They have
ask
better
me,
vision. I don't know. Their vision for Smith
yes,
and Owens just isn't there. It's just it's taking too long to process.
it's a crazy thing with Owens because not just this game, but over the last several weeks, every time a hole opens up, like, ooh, this thing is going to be a big hitter. It seems like he trips over his own feet or the grass or something. He stumbles every time a
Yeah, he
big hole
stumbles.
opens.
He good word. He stumbles because he's like, is that it? And then he's like second guessing. He just go.
Yeah, I don't know exactly, obviously, look, Owens is going to be a big part of this running game next year. He's not Moss by any means. We've talked about that. We've talked about that for a couple of years now. The question is, can he then take from now till next year, can he take a step forward? And I don't know that he can. And I also, not in that sense. I also don't think that they're taking advantage of some of his skill set, right? We talked about before the year
Out of the back
started.
catching passes.
Yeah, even in putting them out into the routes, right, and getting them out out as a slot guy and letting them run some routes out there. And we didn't really see a whole lot of that this year. I don't know if that changes next year. But to be honest with you, I don't anticipate it changing that much because it never happened. If it would have happened a little bit, maybe I'd say, hey, maybe this guy's going to push more of that, but never happened. Um,
I agree with you. I mean, I don't know what I was really high on the guy, watched him play, thought he was athletically, he looks the part, but just, I mean, I was comparing him to Eric Dickerson. He is not even close.
whew, man,
I
you're
mean,
not even the
I don't want to
same
say this
train.
might be a bad take, but I almost hope he transfers out and let Morrow start next year and be the bell, of the backfield.
Hey,
Just saying.
that's a little harsh, but the thing is, you still need the depth, right? And I do think he can be a part of that backfield. I don't think he's the bell cow, right?
He'll be. I think he should be more of an Amari Daniels this year for next year. Just let him a couple
So
runs here and there.
so obviously, I've been all over Colin Klein here the last couple of weeks. I think the guy has done a horrible job of late. We talked about some of it during the regular season at times when he had some really nice, innovative play calling and some good play design. He didn't show any of that crap the last couple of games. You know, I don't know whether he was distracted or whatever, But the fact of the matter is he didn't do well. He didn't do a good job. He didn't do a good job for a team that didn't score in 2 games, basically, right? I mean, that's a problem, and that's an offensive coordinator problem, if you ask me. Um, you know, Elko decided to let him coach through the playoffs. I talked about it. I thought that potentially it was not a great decision. Ohio State and Ryan Day have decided that Ryan Day is going to take over offensive play calling for the playoffs. The offensive coordinator Hartline, who took a head coaching job, he's going to go back to being a wide receivers coach for this playoff run. And you know what? I kind of agree with that, right? I kind of agree with that. I think that's probably the smarter call, right? Because you have to understand that that guy, no matter how much his intentions are to do right by this program, is he's got his own program that he's got to worry about. He's got to assemble a coaching staff. He's got to go figure out which kids are thinking about transferring. He's got to figure out who's going getting into the transfer portal. He's got to figure out what's going on with his recruiting class. Like there is a lot as a head coach during this period that you have to do, especially coming into a program that I mean is going to take away from the time you normally would be spending as the offensive coordinator. I'm sorry, there is nobody that can tell me that that is not the case. That's just fact. That's just fact. Otherwise, you wouldn't be like you think that the offensive coordinators at Indiana, who's not going anywhere, you think he's what, spending half his time just sitting at home playing with his balls? No, dude. That guy's working like 18-hour days on his team with his game plan.
Yeah. No, that's what the who's the coach in Memphis that took the other job? Where's he going?
Silverfield over
Auburn?
at Auburn.
Because he was talking how he's only getting 2 hours of sleep because he's doing both jobs. They got their ass kicked too.
I mean, I'm just telling you, man, that math does not add up. It does not add up. And I understand good intentions, man. Colin Klein didn't, but even in his last press conference, they talked about, hey, how's this, the scheduling situation and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, honestly, you know, we're pretty well into the year now. Our game plan is what it is. It's not that much, like, what are you talking about, dude? I've been an
Yeah,
offensive coordinator. Every
yeah,
week,
yeah.
you got to go in there and figure out the little wrinkles about how things are going to play out, right? You like to make sure that your packages are, or what you're, putting together as far as that specific defense, what formations you like on these different things, and off those formations, where's the little plays that offset what you're doing as your bread and butter. All those things come into play. Don't tell me, oh, no, no, we're just throwing the same package in there that we did have before. That's all our bullshit. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, I
so,
don't think he watched any tape on Miami.
yeah, dude, I think it was a horrible decision to keep him on as the play caller. You already had your next year's play caller in the house, by the way. You already gave him the job. Might as well give it to him. You
Let
know,
him do it.
let
He
him
knows
do
the plays.
it. He knows the players. He knows the plays. He knows the whole thing. Let Collins sit in there as your quarterback coach, and that's it. You know what I mean? I mean, and I think that's beneficial to both parties, by the way. I think that'd have been helpful for Colin, and I think that'd have been helpful for Wiggins, and I think that'd have been helpful for the offense, right? In general. And yet,
Yeah,
that's not the decisions we make.
too late now.
Now,
Next year.
defensively, on the other hand, Jay Bateman already wasn't calling the play, so it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Let's talk about that defense a little bit. Before that, anything else on this offense, Corey, that you just like,
Just the final drive. I was excited, and then that interception happened. I mean, you could almost feel it coming, couldn't you? I mean, you could like, what's going to happen? I
yeah.
mean, it was just like ah.
Well, I think
And
the
if we
worst
if
part
we
about the
scored, I
turnovers,
mean, huh?
I think the worst part about those turnovers too is that they happen on early downs, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just
So it's not like it was a third down, this or fourth down where it's like, hey, turnover, it's like you have to complete anything or make a play anyway, like go do that and it's, whatever, you turn it over, whatever. No. It was on early downs where all you had to do is just give yourself another chance,
what
right?
I don't understand is why. How come we can move the ball in the final minute of the game and we can't move it the rest of the game? You know what I'm saying? I mean, we move the ball a little bit here and there and dink and dunk, but I just, you know, where's
Yeah,
that
and
sense of
I,
urgency at the whole game? Why isn't that sense of urgency there from the kickoff till the end of the game? Why can't they do that?
and just the mistakes too, right? The penalty on when it was 4th and 2 or whatever, right? Like just when they have their penalties or and some of it once again is play call, right? You have a good first down, all of a sudden it's 2nd and 3,
Did
and
you want them to go
instead,
for it on that 4th and 2? Did you want them to actually go for it? I wanted them to punt. I wanted them to punt it.
uh, from where they were at, I kind of did want them to go for it,
I don't want them to punt
but
because where were they at? They were like the 45 or something, 40 or
yeah, they were
45.
but they were on the Miami side of the field, right?
I can't remember.
I can't remember either exactly, but
I
um,
was sitting there going, I think we should punt. I mean, defense is playing pretty good. Field position game.
yeah.
Kicker
And it
stuff.
ended, obviously it ended up being that, right? It did end up being that is a field position game all day, right? All day.
I got a question for you real quick. That kicker that missed the got it blocked. Did he make any field goals at all this year? That guy, I don't remember. Why the hell was he on the roster?
And the craziest part is why did he win the job out of camp? Because you brought in a guy, you had a guy that had been here for a couple of years, had a good season last year, and all of a sudden you give him the job to this other guy. It almost tells you, I mean, how bad were they both kicking in practice that you ended up making that
You're killing
decision
the other
for
guy's
him?
confidence. And kicking's a lot about confidence, isn't it? I mean, it's like getting the
Yeah.
ips, like
And going back and
putting
forth
knob
one
off.
to the other, that's an absolute mess. You might as well not ever kick a field goal if you're going to do that because, like you said, they're not going to be confident in what they're doing. They're always going to be looking over their head. It's just
Yeah.
it's just a bad recipe, man. Pick one, stick with it, and
Mm,
and go forward,
terrible.
right? And I don't
Terrible.
know. I'd have gone with the guy that's been there forever. I'd have gone with the guy that's got the experience. To me, that's Randy Bond.
Yeah.
But
He'll
at the end
probably
of
be on the Cowboys roster next year or something. Be a
the
senior?
He is a senior. Yeah, he is a
Okay.
senior.
What about that
So
other guy? Is he gone too?
yes, he's also gone. They got to figure out something on the kicking game for sure.
Well, bring that kid in that almost made the $1 million kick. Shit, he damn near made that thing.
He missed it twice though, so I'm not sure that that's your solution either. But
Yeah, he's right
it
there. He's
it would
almost
have
as
been
good as Martinez.
no worse than the other guys, I guess.
Yeah.
You know. All right, so moving on to the defensive side of this thing. Look, defense obviously only gave up 10 points, right? You can't be overly critical of the defense with the fact that this ended up a 10-3 ball game, right? But but it was good enough, but they still had the same problem that they've had all year with the run game, right? For a second week in a row, a back goes off for more yards than he had all season long. In this case, this is the most he's ran for in his career, right? This is a guy that hadn't had, but I don't know that he had a single run all year of 20 yards or more, maybe one or two all year long. And I don't know how many he had against us, but it was a lot, right? Like there is a problem with this run defense. We've had it all year long. We had it last year. Last year, we led the SEC as a defense in runs of 20 plus yards. This year, we led the SEC as a defense in runs of 20 plus yards allowed, right? That's
We're
two
leading the
years in a
SEC.
row. Led the SEC, baby.
Hey, we're leaders, baby. That's what we're doing.
Leaders. And so, like, this isn't a player problem. This isn't a player problem. This now, when you can see that consistency in the production, that is a coaching problem, man. And Elko has had this problem going back for as long as you want to look at his track record. You know, all of his crap and things that he does causes issues with the fits, right? It makes it harder to be consistent with your fits. And that gives up big plays in the run game. And Saturday was no exception to that. It has been the story of this defense all year long. It's been the story of this defense for the last 2 years. And it continued to be the story in the most critical game of the season, the most critical drive of the season. That last drive where they went 85 yards, and I believe almost all of it was on the ground, right?
Well, except for that pass to Tony at the end that scored a touchdown.
And that's basically a run too, right? I mean,
It
it's a
was.
wide receiver sweep. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was. But it's just I mean, they did a good job on Carson Beck. Third downs, they were still pretty solid. Pretty solid. Not too many defensive penalties. Uh we just I don't know. It's just yeah, the running game. Miami figured something out. We didn't. It's like you said, it's coaching. It's we gotta do better.
Yeah, I just thought running game wise, dude, they Miami could have had this game could have gotten blown open a lot earlier if Miami would have actually just ran the ball all game long. I thought in the first half they did they wanted to throw the football, right? They wanted to come out and kind of even if it was a short passing game, that was their focus. It wasn't in the run game. And second half, especially there in the fourth quarter, they said, "No, well, let's hand it to this guy and let's see what happens." And here we go. And here we go. Big play, big play, big play. I look, I'm going to say this and people are going to think I'm ridiculous, man.
It's not yeah, that's probably true.
I think Elko needs to give up play calling on this defense. I think he needs to give up control of this defense altogether. I think he needs to hand it to Hempill, let Hempill get in there and take it over, and then let's go see what happens, right? But I think Elko has to clean his hands of it a little bit because his he can't change his ways, man. He can't change his ways, right? I talked about it when he went to Duke. I said, look, he's a perfect fit at Duke because over there, all his
Gadgets, yeah.
nonsense, gadgetry defensively is going to help them be better, right? Because they can't line up physically against Miami. They can't line up physically against the SEC schools. But all that stuff is going to help them give them a chance. Here, you have to be sound on first and second down. You have to let your players put them in a position to be sound easily, make plays, contain the run, and then at times you can bring in some of that fancy stuff, right? But he can't keep himself from doing it, man. He can't. And especially when in his head he's got it in his head against Texas, against Miami, two teams that don't run the football well. Hey, look, we don't even have to pay that much attention to the run because they're not any good at it. Well, they're pretty good at it when you fucking open up holes the size of trucks out there. You know what I mean?
They were big. They were big.
I felt like there was times that running back was like looking around, is like, where's everybody at?
I'm surprised Miami didn't run the ball more in the first half because they got a big offensive line. I don't understand it. You talked about them last week about how big they are. They get their hands on you, you're screwed. Why have they done that all year? They've been believing in Carson Beck that much. I'm not saying Carson Beck sucks, but I wasn't impressed with him.
No, he didn't have a great game. I mean, he threw for 103 yards on Saturday, right? I
Yeah.
mean, he avoided the mistakes though. He avoided the mistakes. He had the one fumble that we couldn't recover that I think Cassius basically let it go through his hands, there. But end of the day, I mean, they went back and they leaned on that running game. They leaned on that offensive line. They did some things in the running game where they brought in those wide receivers to help on the inside run scheme, right? And boy,
Hmm.
that threw us way off. It's like our safeties are way out of the picture, and so they added an extra blocker in there. Bam, bam, bam. I he has got to reevaluate, completely reevaluate what he is doing defensively. And I'm not sure that him himself is going to be able to do that. He's got to let go of the defense. I think he's got to give it to Hempill. I don't think he's going to, by the way. I don't think he's going to. I think his ego is way too big on that. But I think he should be doing it. And that's having said the fact that I said it earlier. Defense played well enough to win on Saturday, right?
Oh, absolutely. They gave up 10 points.
Yeah. And then I want to talk a little bit about special teams because special team was freaking garbage. Garbage.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, and this has been another one of these things that's been an all season problem, right? This wasn't just Saturday.
Yeah.
It's been an all-season problem. If the special
Kicking
teams
game
coach,
sucked. The punting game, fake
horrible.
punt sucked. I mean, they muffed the punt. I mean, where do you stop with this? I mean, it just
You gave up a big return too, right?
oh yeah, huge.
And like we've had blocked punts this problems this year. That's been a problem this year. The punter's gotten worse since this guy's been coaching them. The kickers have gotten worse since this guy's been coaching them. There's a problem. If the special teams coach is back next year, that's a problem.
Yeah,
Um,
I think he's going to K State.
let's all hope so. Look, and
All right,
and I and I can't put into words how disappointing this game was and how disappointing the end of the season was. I can't put it into words. It was super disappointing. But looking at that whole season, Corey, it was a good season. I don't
very.
I don't want to take away from the fact that it was a good season. It was a season that pushed us in the right direction as a program, definitely. But it wasn't a great season. Don't come back like after the COVID year when they went 9-1 or whatever and say it was a great season. That wasn't a great season. This wasn't a great season. It was a good season.
It was better than good. It was better than a good season. Did Vanderbilt have a good season, 10-2?
Yeah, I think Vanderbilt had a good season at 10-2, but
They didn't make the college. They didn't make the playoffs.
Vanderbilt's a program that hasn't historically had the resources and everything else that the A&M program has, right?
Well, I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, look at these other programs. I think we had
Now,
a great season,
now
and in
Vandy also
terms of
can at
maybe
least argue
us
that
in
they
the
got
past,
robbed, right? That they got robbed, that they should have been in the playoffs. 10-2 in the
I'm just
SEC.
saying. From what we've done in the past, this was a great season. We made the college football playoff. I mean, if a great season to me this year would have been beating Texas. Yeah, getting a first round bye. Yeah, I'm
Sure.
excited we got a game at A&M,
No,
but
I look,
we're
I
getting
don't think it
better.
was
We're getting better. Is all I can say. We're doing better.
I don't think it was a
Three
great
years
season.
ago,
I think, yeah, getting better. You're right.
3 years ago, we would have been like 7-5, 6-6, 8-4. Here we go.
But let me tell you why it's not a great season. I saw a meme come out the other day, and it's Texas A&M. Most fans per point in the history. Like, okay, you know, the whole point here is that like this team, my point is that this team has had this kind of support from the Aggie Nation, man. The roster is plenty talented. All these things are out there. And was it a good season? Yes. Great. Great. No. No. You don't lose, go out and show your worst performances against your rival and in the first round of the playoffs and
At
say it's a
home.
great season at home. Right? That's not a great season. Good season, yes. Moving forward, yes. Great? I don't think so. My opinion.
Well, I think we exceeded expectations. I think we
We
did
did.
well.
Yeah, yeah, we exceeded expectations.
I mean, compared to what we've come from, I think we're in the projecting in the right path. We're good.
I only mentioned it once or twice before, but remember who predicted 11-1 this year. I just want to say,
Jesus.
pat myself on the back there.
There it is. Go ahead, Elko.
With and on that note, let's talk a little bit about Mike Elko and his little
All right.
press conference.
Go ahead.
I'm going to tell you what, man. Obviously, look, Elko's done a good job since he's been here.
Has he?
But I'm going to tell you what, he's becoming a little bit of a Jimbo Fisher now.
Oh,
He's
here we
becoming a
go.
little bit of a Jimbo Fisher. Here he
Oh,
goes
shit.
in his last press conference and pat himself on the back. He's like, "Hey, we really
We exceeded.
outperformed our roster here. We thought that it was all season long it was going to be close margins and we did better than we should have. It's like good job by us. Our players need to make more plays." Like, okay, way to throw everybody under the freaking bus, you asshole. Thank you for patting yourself on the back and
You
telling us
might have
all how
taken
good
that
a
out of
job.
context. You might have
Thank you
taken
for
it out of
telling us all how good a job you did. By the way, in the two most important games of the season, you absolutely shat the bed, and all year long you still haven't figured out how to stop the run. So kiss my ass, Elko. You didn't outperform your talent. You didn't freaking outperform the margins. What you did was do what this team was capable of except you kind of left a little bit on the bone because if you wouldn't have been so interested in freaking doing all your exotic BS, maybe you don't give up 800 yards rushing in the last 2 weeks. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. Don't come out here with this super, oh, we did, oh, I'm so amazing BS, right? Like, hey, look, this is about you and your players. Did your players play up to par? No? Well, you're part of the reason they didn't play up to par, by the way. You are the coach that's supposed to get them ready to play up to par. You know what I mean?
I hear you. I'm not. I understand where Elko's coming from. They did exceed expectations. I'm sure he heard everything everybody was saying. Oh, this is a 9-3, 8-4 team. Yeah, the schedule fell out right for him. A lot of teams ended up sucking that we didn't think were going to suck. And I mean, there's a lot of teams that sucked this year that I didn't think was going to suck. Clemson, Penn State, LSU, shit. There's a whole bunch. But anyway, he had a good season. Schedule fell right. And I think he got a lot of the talent he had. I mean, KC, I was excited about KC coming out. Now he's a first, second round pick. Last year when he played at NC State, I didn't know who he was. Rio, I didn't know anything about him in Mississippi State. This guy, SEC, he should have made one of the SEC teams. I don't know if he did or not. Should have. And he got a lot out of those tight ends. Burkitcher, who the hell was this guy coming in?
Yeah.
I didn't know who he was. I mean, I, I can't say I'm disappointed in the offensive line. They did great all year, but this last game, the last two games, and Elko, I mean, like, I think he's trying to be realistic. Like, hey, this is what our team is. They outperform their expectations. That's the guys that's doing a good job coaching. That's guys being coached doing a good job. They went 11-1.
Yeah, but part of the expectations, part of the cause of the expectations are the fact that, he went 8-4 last year or 8-5 last year, right? He caused some of those poor low expectations. And obviously the mismanagement of this program over the 6 years prior with Jimbo, right? I mean,
Right.
those
He stick
expectations
to
are
the
caused by the coaches, but they want to continue to tell us that it's a talent deficiency. And I'm sorry, I disagree with them. I disagree with them wholeheartedly.
no. I don't think so. I think it's a culture. He's changing the culture, and he's on the right projection. I mean, he's way ahead of schedule. Last year was a good season. I mean, it was okay. This year, great season. I mean, they're doing well. Last year, they fell off the cliff the last half of the season. This year, they fell off the cliff the last two games, three games, actually, 4 games, 3.5, because
Yeah,
South Carolina.
really it's the last month, right? Because yeah, with Sanford game in there, which they still didn't play well in, right? They didn't play well in that game. But
Yeah.
South Carolina, right? And the first
Yeah.
half of that game was an absolute, shit show. So yeah, they haven't played well in a while. And it's one of the things. So let's talk a little bit about the season. And the first thing I want to talk about is I want to tell Aggie fans and the 12th man that, and it's not all of you, but quit being little bitches. All right? Quit being little bitches. Because here's the one thing I want to tell you. One, don't cry when, look, I am a fierce proponent of the Aggie program and Aggie football. But look, there is no individual that surpasses my love for that Aggie program. And that includes the coaching staff, that includes everybody, right? And so don't cry about being critical about a coach. Nobody here said fire Mike Elko, but Elko needs to do better. Colin Klein should have done better, right? And so keeping them and holding them to a standard that's not a problem. Don't be a little bitch. But here's the other side of it. Don't get all on board with all these national media and Longhorns and with that narrative that, oh, A&M didn't beat anyone. We were a product of a crappy schedule, blah, 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 blah. Bullshit. All right. This team did a great job against a lot of very high quality opponents. They beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame. They beat LSU at LSU. They beat Missouri at Missouri. They beat a Florida team that beat Texas that back then was still playing at a much higher level than they did towards the end of the season. The win against Auburn was when they were playing some of their better ball, right? Like, don't get on this freaking narrative with the rest of the national media and have to apologize for the Aggie season that we had, which was very good season, right? It was a good season. Don't sit in here and cry about it and all of a sudden turn your head down. Don't sit here and bitch to me about the fact, oh, Marcel isn't good enough. Quit being a little bitch. He was your leader on this team all year long, and now all of a sudden, national media, blah, 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 wants to go talk all this stuff, and you're going to jump right on board. Don't fall into that trap. Don't fall into that trap. You know, don't cry because of the fact that all of a sudden in the national media, don't fall into their trap, man. Don't just get on board to their bandwagon. This was a productive season. Stand up for your Aggies, believe in your Aggies, get behind your damn Aggies, behind the Aggie football program. You know what I mean? That's
Absolutely.
first.
Yeah,
That's first.
I agree with you, man. I think that's just how it is, though. The season ends like this. You remember what happened at the end. That's all you really remember. Everybody loses at the end except for one team, right? It
Yeah,
sucks, but
absolutely. And it was a really good season with a shitty ending, right?
yeah,
With a really
I
shitty
didn't like
ending.
that. I mean, I liked the book. The book was good. I'd read it again.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
It sucked.
There's no way to get around the fact that it was a shitty ending. Here's the other piece, Corey, and I want you to think about this. 2 years in a row now, it appears as if teams seeing what the Aggies are doing, especially on the defensive side at times, have started to figure out some of Elko's tendencies and towards the end of the season start exploiting some of those tendencies. Offensively, I think we saw the same thing with Colin Klein and his tendencies and teams being able to sort of exploit some of those towards the end of the season. And, as I talked about earlier, coaches, their goal is to get better week by week. And in this case, with this team, we didn't see that at the end of the season. We didn't see this group get better at the end of the season. We saw them kind of falter at the end of the season. Any thoughts on that? 2 years in a row.
No, it's still a work in progress. I think that we'll have a new offensive coordinator. Hopefully that'll change some things up. I think Klein did a better job this year than he did last year.
I would agree.
We have more explosive plays. We have more explosive players. They're addressing needs by getting talent. I mean, like I said, I didn't know who any of these players were. A lot of them were when they came in, and I'm glad we got them. Because if we would have had the same receivers as last year, I don't think we would have been as good. And so I think, yeah, teams are probably catching on. We probably caught them by surprise at first because some of our guys were better than what we thought they were. But
Yeah, and
yeah,
remember our offense
you got
last
to
year.
get more.
Teams on our offense last year played everybody in the box, man. And it was easy to do that, and so
Yeah,
early in the season, those explosive plays kind of came out of that. But over time, folks figured out, hey, we can cover deep out here. We can do a little zone underneath, and we can still stop this offense, right?
my thing is we don't really have an identity on offense. I mean, are we a running team? Not this year. Moss went down. We had a great offensive line, but did we use them properly? I mean, a lot of stuff this year. Even the South Carolina game, you look back, other games were on Marcel's feet for broken plays. Like,
Yeah.
can you depend on that? Is that a recipe for success?
Well, and not only that, like, we talked about the tight ends and Burkitcher, Riley, another big blocking guy, Burkitcher, a good blocking guy, and those guys were in there a lot, but yet they would
They weren't
like
blocking.
they would flare him out against nobody out in the flats or some shit, like they weren't
Yeah,
using them to strengthen your attack, and so at times, and so yeah, there's questions there. You're right, the identity was almost like, okay, what exactly are we offensively? And I
yeah,
think that showed up in the biggest moments, right? That definitely showed up
right.
in the biggest moments.
Because I mean, you look
Um,
at Marcel. Marcel's a good quarterback. I like him, but he's not a pure pocket passer. He's not. You look at Chambliss from Ole Miss. I watched him play. That guy throws a beautiful ball, good touch. He's undersized, but he's quick enough to get out. A lot of Marcel in him, but I think he's a better passer than Marcel.
Yeah, and Marcel
Marcel,
doesn't have that rocket arm either, right? He doesn't have like that
well, he
just
tries to. He jams it in there. I mean, he throws as hard as he can every time he gets a chance.
it's almost like he needs to because of the fact that he doesn't really have that naturally gifted arm, right? But having
Yeah, but I
said
mean,
all that, I mean, we talked about this before, Corey. I mean, I said it, I think Marcel's an absolutely excellent college quarterback. Do I think
Yeah.
that's going to translate to the next level? No, probably not. He's probably not an NFL quarterback, but I think he is so good in college
I
and
mean,
can
things
be.
I think Marcel needs to work on touch on his passes. I mean, he throws a decent deep ball, but he's too erratic. He gets, it's a lot of,
He gets overly excited, man. You
yeah,
see him, he gets on those deep balls and he's like, what? And then
yeah.
overthrows.
I mean, the beginning of the season, I think he was overthrowing guys left and right. We're like, oh, that could come back to haunt you. He got lucky they didn't get picked, but then they started getting picked. Um, and he throws the ball behind guys. I think a lot of his receivers make him look good. I think KC and I mean Bethel had a couple catches that he didn't drop that made him look good, and so did Rio. But that's going to happen. You're going to need that. Your receivers are supposed to make you look better,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Absolutely.
But you got
That's
to give
that's
him
why you got them
opportunity.
out there.
I mean, he's doing a good job of getting his receivers a chance. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Our
I,
other
I and I,
quarterbacks in the past wouldn't give him a chance. Their offensive line wouldn't give him a chance. They'd be sacked before you could even they'd throw the ball in the flat or something. You'd be like, oh shit, here he goes again.
look, I also say that, you know, once again, man, really good season. And I do agree with you, like moving in the right direction, right? Building culture, building, the program, all those things. But this is my other piece to this. It's not going to be worth anything if you cannot follow it up next year, right? If this is a little hill on, and then back the other way, then that's not culture building. That's not program building. Elko, his staff, these players have got to do what Indiana did, which is show up. Everybody doubted them at the end of the year when they got beat, yada, yada, and then show up another year and do it again and get better, right? That's what this program needs to do. Because
And
if
they're
they go,
starting to do that.
huh?
They're starting to do that. I mean, look at
Well,
Indiana. They got guys wanting to come play for that coach now. Before,
yeah,
nobody wanted to go to Indiana.
no. And that's why the
Elko's
2020,
doing that. He's getting guys here. He's going to get more guys that want to come play for Mike Elko and that style of offense and defense.
but that's why the 2026 season is such a critical year for this football program in general, right? Because you can go one of either way. If you make the excuse like we're going to have to replace three or four offensive linemen and we're going to have to replace three defensive linemen. And so, we're going to take a step back and yada, yada. And that's okay because of what happened. Oh, no, hell no. That's not okay. Right. If that's what you go off and do, and next year you're 8-4 again, this year was worth nothing right?
Right?
But if you can come back and you can do the same thing, and look, next year's schedule is a road grader, man. That's a tough one. But if you can come back and have another productive year and go 10-2, 11-1, and go to a playoff again, now you're talking. Now you're building. Now this is truly a program builder. You know what I'm saying? Because like
Oh,
you
yeah.
said, all of a sudden it's not just going to be this idea, oh, yeah, they just had a crappy schedule, whatever. Now all those excuses are going to be gone, and players are going to start flocking to the program. Coaches are going to start wanting to be a part of it even more. Then you're going to be able to produce some of that consistent result that you get from a program like Ohio State, like Oregon, like Georgia, right?
Yeah. I mean, you look at all the teams in the college football playoff, 90% of them, they said played a crappy schedule. I mean, Ohio State, oh, their schedule sucked. Indiana, oh, their schedule sucked. The only team they said that played a good schedule was like Oklahoma and Alabama.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Oh,
Yeah. And you're absolute. That's all. It's all like in the moment too. Like
yeah,
whatever. You know, if you're a team that can go win consistently, man, 10, 11 games, I don't care what that schedule looks like, man, that is a good deal because teams lose games that they're not supposed to lose all the time. Mediocre and bad teams lose those games. That is what those teams do. We didn't do that. And that's a credit to Elko and his staff for sure. So now you got to go repeat it. You got to go do what Kurt Signetti and his group did at Indiana. Go have a second year of success where now it shows that, oh no, these guys are for real, right? That's the goal.
absolutely.
Um, and with that in mind, let's take a quick look at the roster, Corey, and talk a little bit about what this looks like next year. So offensively, we talked about it offensive line wise. Look, guys that are gone for sure. Zune, Fothery, Reed Adams, Crownover, Coley, all gone. Now, Coley didn't play a lot this year, but he was the backup center. Maybe Besantis, right? Maybe Besantis. To me, if you ask me, priority number one of guys that we need to keep on this roster, I would say Besantis. Now, some people have him as a second round guy. Does he go?
Oh, if he's a second round guy, absolutely. I mean,
So
we got guys that are saying there may be a fourth or fifth round guy going, I'm gonna go.
yeah.
Second round, yeah.
I think if you keep Besantis, man, you're not in as bad a position as you think you are. You know, so transfer portal, what does it look like? With as many guys leaving, you would think that a lot of these guys behind them are going to stick around because they're going to have a chance to start next year, right? But
Mhm.
I think, if you look at a potential five with the two tackles, I think are going to be superb. In the freshman Rogers from this year, who was a five-star guy, I think he's going to be your left tackle, and I think you have to give him a chance to play because you bring somebody in to go play that spot. By the way, he's probably transferring out. Why would he stick around in a place where he ain't going to get on the field, right? I think he's that kind of level of player there on the left side. On the right side, Bourdon, who was basically our third tackle, when Father was hurt at the beginning of the year, he was our third tackle in the
Mhm.
rotation, and then once Father got here, he moved in behind Father and let Father take that spot. But I thought he played really well when he got on the field. I think both of those guys are really good, solid starting points for the offensive line. Mark Naboo is back at center. You know, we always talk about how important the center is. Well, you got a guy that's
Very.
going to be in his second year starting. Really, he was starting the year before he got hurt, right? So a guy with a lot of reps out there, he's big. And now you got to fill in those guard spots. If Besantis is still there, obviously he's a key. But if not, you got young guys that were highly recruited in Funk, in Afua, in Ivy that can move in there. And then maybe you bring in a guy that competes for one of those spots out of the transfer portal, for one of those guard spots. But I feel good about where we're at tackle. I feel good where we're at center. If there's a guy that ends up being a really good center, you can also move Naboo out to one of the guard spots, right? So you've got some flexibility with that. I kind of like where our offensive line is. What do you think?
No, I agree with you. I mean, this is going to happen. I'm hoping that Elko was prepared for this because these guys are going to graduate eventually. I mean, Zune was great. Loved watching Reed Adams. I thought was overrated, but Crownover had his moments. He's, riding that wave with that guy. It was just, I mean, Father, I always expected more. So, but yeah, it's expected. And I'm hoping that, we recruited well and there is a transfer portal.
Look, and everybody always wants to talk transfer portal. Oh, go get guys out of transfer portal. I'm going to tell you what, man. I think that the basis of a program is still the recruiting class. And to me, if you're a coaching staff, you should be developing these young guys. Now you've had them here for a year to a year to 2 years, like those guys should be ready to go. The reason that they've been on this campus is so that you can develop into the next starter, right? At the position. And so don't think that you've got to go replace them outside. Let these, especially high-end recruits, let them go do what they've been brought here to do, right?
Exactly. I'm a little distracted.
Yeah.
Room
Yeah.
service.
Yeah, excuse me. Could you give, please? No, please. Can you leave me? Thank you. Yeah. Um, no, please go, 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 go. Thank you. Sorry. Well, here we go. Uh, apparently the do not disturb sign on the door is not good enough.
Ah,
So
wow. They'll give me a
O-line,
Yelp review. That'll be a Yelp review.
O-line, I do think that obviously we're going to lose some pieces, but I think we're going to be okay there. Look, running back, we're going to lose Moss. We're
Yeah,
gonna
you
lose
are.
Moss. He's gone. Smith
Smith.
and Daniels both gone, right? Do
Yep.
you get some transfers in the group? I mean, Ryden this year didn't really get any playing time as a freshman. Tillman, another freshman in there that maybe some of those guys go. But the stable should still include Owens, Morrow, KJ Edwards and Carson Baker, the two freshmen, and probably Ryden, right, in that group. And I think that's a pretty solid group.
Yeah, we're fine at running back. I don't see us bringing him running. We don't need any running back help. I think we need go ahead to the next position.
The only guy I will say this: if for some reason Jamarian Morrow leaves, then I think we need a guy.
Why would he leave?
He didn't
He's the
get
only
a
freshman that
single.
got he's the only one that got any playing time out of the freshman.
He didn't get a single touch in the college football playoff game. So,
You almost call it
oh,
a
hold
natty.
on. Yeah, I know. The natty run. Uh, Quarterback, obviously, we're set with Marcel. Zeno's going to be gone as a depth guy. I have a feeling that there's going to be some transfers in that group, right? With O'Neal, knowing that Marcel is here next year, he probably wants to get some playing time. Land, who's a guy that's also been here for 2 years, hasn't been, has already kind of been bypassed by one of the freshmen, in Hart. So I think maybe a couple of those guys transfer,
How many
but
do you need on a roster? 10,
well,
15?
hopefully you don't get into number three, but you still in your depth chart, you still have Reed. Even if those guys leave, you got Hart, who I think is the guy that started building some momentum as more the next up and coming, and then you got the freshman Kasuga coming in, obviously that you hope doesn't get into the picture, right? So you still got some pieces. Maybe you bring in a veteran that's going to be a kind of a backup kind of guy. I don't know, but depending on who leaves. But other than that, like I've said, I believe that this position is in good hands with Marcel Reed next year.
Gotcha.
Tight end, we lose Burkhardt and Niblack, right? Um,
Yeah,
I don't. Look. I love what Burkhardt did this year.
I
I
do
love
too.
what Burkhardt did this year, but at the same time, um,
Transfer.
yeah, I mean, look, Theo, another year of Theo. We know who he is and what we're getting from him.
Yeah,
But the freshman Armstrong this year is a guy that everybody's been raving about, and it's time to go see exactly what that's all about, how athletic he is, how big he is. Let's go see what that's all about. I'm excited to get him on the field. Riley, I think towards the second half of the season started to get some more playing time as a blocking tight end. I think he's got a lot of play in him as that role for him next year. And then you got the three freshman tight ends that they brought in this year. It's not like you don't have depth.
right. I agree.
With wide receivers, Casey's gone. We lost Casey. Love the kid, but look, this team has got they've got depth and talent at wide receiver. Man, look at the names: Rio, Bethel Roman, Bussy, Williams, who showed out in that South Carolina game, right? Johnson, another freshman from this year. TK Norman, who had some couple of moments this season. Jerome Miles was a five-star freshman that was hurt all year. We basically get a fresh start with him next year. A big kid, one of the guys that we may be needing as far as a differentiator, as far as a big kid on the outside. And then you get the very talented freshman group in Jaden Ward. This Aaron Gregory, Jaden Ward, like this wide receiving group is in excellent shape. I don't think we have any need whatsoever to go out into the transfer portal unless some of these guys get out of here. Which if you're Terry Bussey, you don't get, and you've been ignored all year long. Maybe he wants to go somewhere.
I don't think he's been ignored. I mean, if he's not getting open, he's not getting open. If he's not catching the ball, you're not catching the ball. Yeah, you need opportunities. But I'd have to see how many snaps he played a game. If he's on the field, he's playing.
Yeah, and look, he could take this as an opportunity to go make a name for himself now that KC's out of there, and let's go take that next step. Or
Yeah,
he can decide to go that he's going to go transfer and go try his fun somewhere else, right?
yeah, go to UTEP or something.
But that wide receiver group is great. Defense, I think, so offensively overall, I think we're in pretty darn good shape, right? Like we're fine. This group,
Eh,
this
I don't
group,
know. I'm nervous about the offensive line. You lose KC. Jesus, that's you don't just replace a first, second round pick, Alejo.
yeah, you do.
You lose Moss at running back. We don't have a Moss on the roster right now.
Yeah, but Moss has
We're
been
losing.
Moss has been out half the season for the last 2 years, so
I'm just saying, he's our top running back.
he is. But like I said, I mean, you got to move on because at the same time, he
Well, you don't
he,
have any
he
option but to move on. But I'm just saying, I'm not as I don't
I
think the
also
offense
think
is
that the talent
okay
that's
as
on
you
the
think it
roster, the
is.
talent that's on the roster, you got to develop it and you got to bring them in. And I don't know
It's
that.
unproven talent. It's unproven. No,
I
nobody's proven anything.
Hey, listen,
Proven
you
shit. I mean,
every
Basantes,
year,
Reed,
every year they talked about
Rio.
Alabama the same way. They talked about Georgia the same way. They lose all these players, they lose all these guys, and whatever, and first rounders,
I
yada
got I
yada
got
yada.
3 to 4 offensive players that I'm kind of excited about coming back, and I'm Marcel, Basantes if he comes back, Naboo at center, and Rio. Who else are you excited about?
I'll be honest with you, I'm excited about Bethel Roman as in another year. I'm excited about
If
Terry
Bethel Roman
Bussey.
gets his hands fixed where he can catch every damn pass that comes to him instead of like 25% of them, I'll be happy. The guy dropped too many balls. I mean, it drove me nuts.
Hey,
He
as the
made
year
a
went
couple
on, he
great
got better and
catches.
better, right? Year went on, he got better and better. Terry Bussey's another guy I'm excited about. I'm excited about TK Norman. I'm excited about Jerome Miles. I'm
I'm
excited
excited
about,
about him, but I want to see it. I want to see it.
yeah. Hey, listen, everybody came out of
I've seen
nowhere,
it from
right?
these other guys. That's why I'm saying I've seen it from these other guys.
Look at Ohio State, they lose one guy and they just bring in another one, right? At
They
at
haven't lost. They have
at
Jeremiah Smith there for it seems like a decade.
Hey, the best rookie wide receiver in the NFL was a wide receiver at Ohio State last year. They just replaced him with Carnell Tate. You know what I mean? I mean, all I'm telling you is that the good programs, whether it's Georgia, whether it's Ohio State, whether it's Oregon, the programs that have been there, whether even Indiana this past year, who lost their quarterback and a bunch of pieces, and they just put in another one and they went back to it. And the coaching staff did a good job of building a system
That's
around
what you
those
got to
good
do. I
guys.
understand that, but I'm just not as excited about the defensive losses as you are.
About the
Or the
offensive
offense.
losses. Let's talk about the defense because I think this is where we have some questions, and especially up front. Defensive tackle, gone. Regis Onyedin, both of them gone. Probably our two best defensive tackles this year, more consistent for sure.
Yeah, I
You know?
expected more out of Hicks.
Yeah, so now we've got Hicks, Evans, and the three freshmen, Rinks, Sanders, Sims, kind of the guys that are coming back. You
What
know,
did Evans do this year? Did Evans do all right?
yeah, not a lot, right? But that's another five-star guy that still hasn't lived up to that potential. He's a potential for a candidate to transfer too. You know, you never know if that's a guy that might reach into the transfer portal because he hadn't gotten enough attention on this defensive line, right? But
True.
you hope that Hicks takes a step forward and becomes that rock in the middle. But I'm going to tell you, Landon Rink is a guy that I'm super excited about next year. I think Sanders is another guy that I'm super excited about next year. And I think those guys definitely have to take a big step forward. But this is also the place where I think you probably need to bring in a guy from the transfer portal that can get in and get you reps, right?
Well,
And
we've
a
done it the
productive one.
last year or two, haven't we? Brought in T.O. and Cassius was brought in. I mean, we brought a lot of guys in our D line. Go ahead.
Yeah, but defensive tackle, I do believe that that's where we need to focus our efforts. Defensive end, you lose Cassius, you lose Dayon Hayes as well. You know, are there guys that are going to transfer out? I don't know. We're going to have to see
Wait,
what
we're
happens
losing
there.
Hayes. Hayes is that
Hayes,
eligibility?
yeah, he's a senior.
Oh,
But
my
you
bad. I thought
know,
he had
I think a defensive end we're a lot better off with the depth as long as a lot of these guys don't leave. With Marco Jones, who I think is going to be an absolute stud going forward. You know, you get Searcy back. Obviously, he's a guy that played and started this year a lot of times. You know, Kennedy and Pemba. I don't know. Does Pemba transfer out? I mean, he came in and basically wasn't used at all. The kid from Georgia, right?
Yeah.
Solomon Williams, another guy that didn't get on the field much this year. You know, do they stick around? But I think with those guys, and then some of the freshmen, we've got some guys that can actually do some things there. Um, at defensive end, I'm less, not completely, but I'm less worried at defensive end than I am at defensive tackle.
I'm not too worried about it at all. We got Elko calling the defense. We're good hands. He did wonders at Duke with less.
uh, Linebacker. Scooby's gone, and Tristan Jernigan just said he's gone. Maybe York,
What's this
right? We'll
maybe
see.
York? I don't get the maybe York. York ain't going nowhere.
He may declare for the draft. You never know. We'll have to
That's
see.
he
But
must
I'll be
somebody's
honest
lying on
with
his
you, whether he
ass.
leaves or not, I'm not too worried about it, right? Because we got Sanford, we got
Yeah.
Lockhart, who played a lot this year, McHale, the freshman, who I think is going to be a superstar on this defense. Riggins, another guy that was a freshman this year, didn't get a lot. I think we've got guys that we got guys at linebacker that can come in, fill in, and take over. They're not going to be York in the sense of all that leadership that he provided out there, but physically they might be an improvement.
Okay, I hear you.
We lose Chappelle at the
Can they stop,
nickel.
hey, can they stop the run? That's all I care about.
That's a good question.
I mean, shit.
Hey, maybe without York out there, Elko feels like he can't do all the crazy stuff that he's been doing, right? And he trims back the playbook a little bit to allow him without the leadership out there. Maybe
Uh,
it's a benefit in disguise. Uh, Chappelle gone at nickel, but I think Shaw played pretty well there. He'll be back, and Rogers is another guy. Uh,
yeah,
so um, so I think I don't know. I think we're okay there, don't you think?
yeah. I'm not too worried about that. What about
Corn, Cornerback Lee's gone, but what? Ricks? You expect Ricks to be back, right?
why would he leave?
I don't know. NFL?
Where
Think
is
he's
he? Where is he? What are you talking about NFL with him?
way down the line.
That's no, you don't do that.
But people have done it, right? So I think Ricks will be back, though. I agree with you. I mean, so that still
Is he
leaves
our
a lot
number
of
one?
depth.
Is he our number one DB next year?
I mean, coming out, right? I don't know. Does Javon Thomas stick around after he kind of got pushed to the back of the line? He's probably a transfer candidate. Maybe even Humphrey, who came over from Georgia, didn't get a ton of playing time, so maybe he decides he's going to go try somewhere else. But Ricks, Humphrey, Thomas are both all three guys that may be getting some time out there. But I think the group is that group that was freshman this year that's going to be sophomore next year with Petaway, Bill Goins. Curry, Sellers, those guys who were highly recruited, those were handpicked guys by Elko. And I think they start getting into the mix this coming year and hopefully improve a coverage team that was pretty good this year, but not great.
Yeah,
Why
I
do
hear
you
you.
laugh?
I just, I mean, you're excited about players I haven't seen on the field yet. I want to see them. That's all I want to do is just see them play a little bit.
Corey, but that's the history of this game in college football is the younger players have to come up and go play. And whenever you're a top-notch program, you recruit good players and then you go play them.
Yeah, but you play them a little bit as a freshman, a little bit, so you can see something.
You would think. Our
Yeah,
our staff didn't do that. Our staff decided to
I
keep them
know.
all
You
on the
keep telling
sideline.
about all these guys. You're excited. Oh, I'm excited about this guy. It's like I didn't see him play this year. I'm excited about our tackles next year. I didn't see those guys play this year that much. You know?
They didn't play that much. They did play some, and I thought they showed fine.
Oh, okay.
Look, and we got three very highly
You watched
touted
more of that
freshmen coming
Sanford
in.
game than I did. I didn't watch much of that Sanford game.
Yeah, that's probably that's where they played the most. But we
I was
have
about to
three
say.
very highly regarded freshmen coming in as corners too. Arrington, the five-star kid, and both Hamil and Singleton were both very highly top 100 players in the country. So, you know, I think at cornerback, man, if you've got to develop these guys, if not, then you're not doing your job. It doesn't matter. These guys have to get on the field now because otherwise they're going to be getting on the field for somebody else.
Gotcha.
Period. Safety, Anderson and Jared Kerr are both gone, I think, and then but you got
You think?
Ratcliffe
What
and
do you
Brooks
mean? You
both
think?
back, right?
What do you think? What do you mean? You think Anderson and Kirk?
I think they're both out of eligibility.
Anderson doesn't get a red shirt this year.
Maybe he may be
I
already a
got
redshirt. I'm not sure. Can't remember.
maybe. Well, medical. He
But
got hurt. You get hurt, it's a medical.
either way, you've got both Ratcliffe and Brooks back, right?
Oh
I
yeah,
think
you're
they both
solid.
had the best years of their time here this past year. And I think it's time to start getting the young guys in Miles Davis, who was super highly recruited and advertised, and Jordan Pride, who's another guy that's super athletic and gets some things done. Some of those guys got to start getting some reps out there as well. So I like our safety group. I'm not too worried about that group. We've got both of those guys starting back. So all that to tell you is my view of this roster is that we're in pretty darn good shape. We're in pretty good shape next year. You may fill in a little bit in the defensive front, maybe a little bit in the offensive line with a transfer here and there, but don't go crazy on these transfers, man. Don't go crazy bringing in a bunch of guys we don't know what's what and you got to make sure that you keep the core of what you've got here, that is the core of this roster together. Right? That to me is more important.
Yeah, I hear you. No, I mean I like what we have coming back from what you said. I mean, I feel more confident about the defensive backs than I do the front seven, the front four, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean they can't be any worse against the run than we were this year. To be honest with you,
No, they
the
cannot.
only thing I'm worried about is getting pressure after the quarterback. Who's gonna put pressure on the quarterback?
I'm really hopeful that Marco Jones comes out and breakout year tomorrow next year as a sophomore, man. That guy's a beast.
Maybe we'll find a Nick Scorton out there. Who knows?
Also Nick Scorton or
Catch us
Cashin
out.
Hoffman.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick look at the playoff matchups, Corey. I think it's a pretty good slate here, man. New Year's Eve, Miami, Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl.
Who do you
Uh,
like?
Ohio State's favored by 9.5, by the way. 9.5.
I kind of like Miami.
I kind of like Miami in the points.
I mean, that
Oh,
game's inside. It's at the Cotton Bowl. That's indoors, right?
yeah, I
I
think
think
so.
Miami might have found something in that running game. They might be able to round the. They might just win a
Look,
dogfight there.
Ohio State's defense isn't going to allow the run game like we did. They're
Well, I'm just
pretty.
saying. I mean, if Miami's offensive line's that big, you get your head on, you know. But the thing that worries me is Ohio State throwing the ball downfield like we didn't do. Ohio State might burn them deep.
Yeah, the big question there is, yeah, how does that Miami defense, I think, hold up against that passing game? But the over under is 42.5, man. I kind of leaning under. Maybe
I
tease it
don't
with
know.
an under. I don't know.
I don't know.
Uh,
Are you feeling that
Oregon,
with were you feeling that with Oklahoma, Alabama too?
I was. I was.
I know.
Oregon and Texas Tech face off. Oregon is a 1.5 favorite in this one. 52.5 over under. What do you
I
think?
like that Tech team. I like Tech. Give me Tech. Hey,
Yeah,
dude,
especially getting the points, right?
I would love to see the Big Ten just get swept out of the playoffs because I
I think
think the
that'd be
Big Ten was
beautiful.
overrated. I think they're
Look,
overrated.
and here's the other thing. I wasn't all that
Could be
impressed with
wrong.
Oregon against JMU, right? JMU put some points up on them. They ran the
Yeah,
football pretty well against
proved it.
Oregon.
Could
Tech
be on
can
the
run
field.
the football, man. Tech will run the football on you.
Tech will move the ball. They'll
Yeah,
play solid defense.
yeah.
Turnovers. Watch out for the turnovers.
I'm with you. I'll take Tech.
Yeah, we'll see.
How about Bama, Indiana? Indiana's minus 6.5. That's a lot of points, man. 6.5, 48.5 over under.
Dude, this Bama team is better than people are giving them credit for. They played a tough ass schedule. They beat Georgia at Georgia. They beat I don't know how many ranked teams this year. How many
Yeah,
ranked teams in Indiana played?
two. Uh, Yeah, I agree. I think Bama's getting a little, and watching them against Oklahoma, man, I thought that offense really took a step forward. Um, Man, I'm with you. I kind of think Bama's getting a little disrespect here. Be careful, Indiana. I mean, they had a
Yeah.
huge win against Ohio State. They had a big win against Oregon. All those things are true. I love this Indiana team. I think they're really good. The quarterback I thought showed a lot of poise and made some great throws in that Ohio State game. All those things are true, man. But Alabama's no slouch. You know what I mean?
Ain't
Alabama's no
nobody's bitch.
slouch.
Ain't no bitch.
How about Ole Miss in Georgia, man? Rematch from earlier in the year. Georgia's 6.5 point favorite, 55.5 over under. Who you gonna go with?
Probably Georgia.
I think Ole Miss wins this game outright.
Do you?
I do. I think Ole Miss wins this game outright. I think there's gonna
God.
be a certain I think they're gonna come out firing, baby. I think they're gonna come out firing. I like Chambliss, man. I like Chambliss as a playmaker. They were able to make
I
some
like
plays
it too.
against this Georgia team in the first go around. They had a lead in that game and they gave it up at the end, probably because of that crappy coach Lane Kiffin. I mean,
True.
I'm super excited to see where this team goes.
You
Uh,
know, Ole Miss's running back might be out. Evans,
Lacey,
Lacey. Yeah, they say he might be out.
ooh, that's definitely a loss. That's a big
Yeah, they
loss.
say he got hurt last game or something. I can't remember what happened, but yeah, they say he might be out.
He's a playmaker. There's no question, man. He's one of their better offensive weapons for sure. But
Yeah,
um, and that could make a difference in my pick. But yeah, and look, Georgia's playing some of the best football they have all at the year at the end of the season, right?
their
Uh,
defense has gotten better too.
yeah, defense and offense have both
I
stepped
mean,
it
they
up towards
shut
the end
down
of the season.
Alabama in that SEC title game. I mean, that's Dude, what's going on with with Alabama's wide receiver Ryan Williams? That guy sucks this year. I didn't expect this at all.
Boy, that he has fallen off. He has fallen off, the bandwagon over there. The bandwagon's gotten off of him for sure. I'll tell you what, they're not giving him the ball. I don't know. I don't know.
They didn't even play him much the other day, they said.
No, no.
Anyway,
He's
god
in the
damn.
doghouse for sure.
Yeah.
Uh, the Ole Miss Georgia game might be the one I'm most interested in watching, by the way.
I'm interested in Texas Tech, Oregon. Like, I mean, I'm excited about all of them, but I mean, I want to see Miami, Ohio State. I want to see that trenches. I want to see how good the Big Ten is. I just don't think they're that good. Everybody's
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, Ohio State, they beat Texas 14-7." We watched Texas. We watched them lose to Florida. We watched them struggle all season. They had one good game against A&M, and you know how good was Texas? You watch Indiana. They beat Oregon. How good's Oregon? They just gave up 34
Listen,
points to
and are those
JMU.
teams ready for the physicality of what the SEC is, right? Like, I don't know. I agree with you. I think that is the narrative of this playoff right now is what does the Big Ten look like against everybody else after, sort of being the like
Yeah,
dominant, you
I
know,
agree.
yeah,
I
conference
agree.
in this deal. I'm excited to see it. And here's the other thing. I think that the other thing that shows up in these matchups is the fix that they made from last year's playoffs to this year's playoffs has
Better
resulted in a
game.
much better game, in much better games here in the second round, even in the first round, to be honest with you, other than those two. But in the second round, I think it's resulted in a much better matchups, man. Obviously, I think that's going to carry forward into the third and fourth rounds as well. I love that change. I would love what they did there. We'll see what they do coming out of this one. Questions from the tailgate. Biggest takeaway from the 2025 Texas A&M football season, Corey?
Excitement again. That battered Aggie syndrome seems to be it's pretty much getting out there. We won games, we won road games, big road games.
Big.
We haven't done in a while. We dominated some games that we should have dominated. We had some
Yeah.
closer games like the Arkansas game shouldn't have been so close. South Carolina shouldn't have been so close, but we dominated most of the teams. And I'm excited for next year. We're not talking
Well,
about firing the coach again. That's good. That's good.
yeah, that's good.
Not yet. He's on the brink.
My biggest takeaway, man, is talent is not a problem. Man, we got playmakers. We got playmakers on both sides of the ball. We got playmakers on the outside. We got playmakers on the inside. We got playmakers on the defensive front. We got playmakers in the defensive backfield. Talent is not a problem, baby. And that's my takeaway. This team is ready to go compete. Let's go see what Elko does in year three, because year three to me is going to be the make or break year for Mike Elko. This is going to
Yeah.
be
If he doesn't do
let's
anything next year, he's fired.
yep,
Done.
bye.
On. See you. We'll bring Signetti in.
Question number two, number one offseason goal.
Revamp that D line. Stop the run. Either I don't know, get whoever you need to. Spend the money on the trenches. Whatever money we have in IO, put it on the trenches. D line, O line, make sure we're strong in both positions.
Yeah, I mean I think that's pretty big, and I think some would say that the biggest thing is going to be to retain the players on the roster, and I think that is a big priority this offseason. I think some would say the physical development of the young players, and obviously we just talked about where this roster is and the expectations for some of the, so that's obviously a huge part of it. You just talked about, yeah, that piece, like replenish, use the transfer portal to make sure and fill some of those holes. And I think that's huge. I don't know. I'm within. I think the biggest goal here is to fix the schematic issues that you have with this defense and the run game. I
That's
think,
what I've said. Fix the run game.
and maybe even some of the schematic issues that we had towards the end of the year in the offense. As coaches, I talked about it earlier. You want to believe that as you move forward in a season, you're getting better, right? Every week getting better. That should be your goal no matter what. Like, okay, opponent, yada, 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 but you're getting better every week. And the last two seasons, it hasn't happened that way. We haven't played our best football at the end of the season. We played it more or less at the middle of the season. Is that because other teams are seeing what we're doing and we're not doing enough to make sure to adjust to whatever adjustments other people are making? Is that because we're, pushing them so hard early on that, they're getting burnt out at towards the end of the season? It's all coming to, coming to a halt. Is it because whatever that reason is, you got to figure out exactly what's going on with that, because that's what, to me, that's what you need to do this off season. That's what you got to work on this off season to make sure that next year we're not doing what we did the last 2 years at the end of the year, right? We're not playing some of our worst football at the end. We're playing some of our best football. And I don't know, how do you do that? Well, sometimes that means that your ramp up has got to be a little bit different, maybe really focused on, a tighter group of plays and really getting better at what you do, and then starting to add things as the season goes on instead of, putting everything in early on and then just trying to develop different whatever, right? Like, but that's the trend that I think this offseason has to work towards fixing. You know what I mean?
No, I totally agree. Fix that run defense. Solidify all your the interior, man. Just solidify that. Make sure you're strong in the trenches. I can't go through another couple years of trying to get an offensive line, getting quarterbacks killed. We went through that in the early 2020s, and it was awful to watch.
Yeah. Hey, Marcel has to take another step, right? He's got to take another step in his development as far as seeing the second, third reads, right? He's oftentimes still stuck on read number one and two. Can he get to third reads? Can he get to the check downs? Can he do those things? Can he diagnose early on before the snap enough to get us out of bad plays, which at times I think didn't happen this year? Can he get the freedom to do that from this coaches, right? The ability and the get allowed to make those changes to make sure that he's putting us in better positions at times and getting the right information to do that. So he's still got some maturing to do. I'm excited to see where this thing's going. I'm excited to see where this next year comes. Well, over the next couple of weeks, we'll obviously talk a little transfer portal. We may take the week off next week with going into the New Year's on the pod, but then in 2 weeks we should come back, and obviously by then we'll start having some good transfer portal news and some things to talk about. Corey, any last words for the folks here for the end of 2025?
That's it, buddy. Merry Christmas, Gig 'em Ags. Keep it up. Happy New Year to everybody. Alejo, I'll see you in about a week, I guess, huh?
Yeah,
Week
man.
and a
Yeah,
half.
man. Super excited. Heck, I might even come see you this weekend in Call Station. You never know. Uh,
You back in town this weekend?
I'm gonna get back either, yeah, Saturday early at some point, I think.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that. Good deal.
Um, happy New Year's, Merry Christmas to everybody, man. Corey, here's the other thing, and we haven't talked much about it, but we're also going to start talking a little Aggie basketball. I'm excited about Aggie basketball and where they're going this year. I expect that all these programs, Aggie programs, man, are moving in the right direction. Hopefully, we get to see baseball come out in second year under the coach, do a much better job and get a good start. And, they've got talent. The softball team, come back, do what they did last year, except now finish it, finish that run. We're excited about a lot of these programs, women's tennis, golf, all doing good things, man. Let's go out there. Let's have a phenomenal year for the Aggie athletic program in general. Volleyball got it kicked off, man. The rest of these teams have to get on board and let's go win some championships like track does every year. How about that?
Every year.
Every year. C Money, AP, signing out from the tailgate.